It happens quietly. A random calendar invite into your inbox from a manager with an HR representative subtly CC'd on the invite. You walk into a meeting room or you log into a Zoom call. Your stomach is in knots because they say special words that no one wants to hear. We're putting you on a performance excuse me. We're putting you on a performance improvement plan, the PP, the infamous PP. Your heart drops. You think back to the brutal hours, the exhaustion, and the absolute grind you endured just to show up to that building every day. You feel inadequate. You feel betrayed. And honestly, with the debt piling up and your bills piling up, you feel a deep, paralyzing sense of fear. But hey, I'm here to tell you something that may sound completely unhinged, especially right now. Getting put on a PIP is the single best thing that will ever happen to you and your bank account. In fact, it is the exact catalyst you've been waiting for to achieve true financial freedom. Because today we're going to look past the corporate gaslighting. We're going to look at the macroeconomics of why the modern workplace is broken and possibly will forever be. Why they actually want you out, and the exact step by step blueprint to use their countdown timer to build an empire. Welcome to Note to Self, a show where we use AI tools to expedite the online money making process. And I am your host, Sean, hoping that you continue to make money over here on the channel. And if for any reason you have yet to do so, please use our catalog of content to blaze a path to your desired outcome of relieving yourself of the prototypical 9 to 5. Now, we have to look at the macro picture that your corporate overlords completely overlook all the time. Or maybe they're just actively hiding it from you. It's very much possible. Historically, humans, our biggest milestone has been, what do we call it? Industrial efficiency. Think about agriculture specifically. A couple of years ago, actually centuries ago, it would take an entire community, a multitude of individual laborers working from sunrise to sunset just to cultivate a single farm. Eventually, though, technology came. We built the tractor. I don't know if you're familiar with uh, tractor simulator games, but those machines really exist. They allow one individual to suddenly harvest, plow, seed, farm, do all the things that hundreds of people used to have to do, again, to take care of a farm. And let's think about this logically throughout history. Whenever we advanced in any industry, the goal was theoretically to make it so fewer people had to work. Then society evolved past factored or forced labor systems, basically slavery. And the ultimate ideal was leverage. Let the machines do the heavy lifting so humans could focus on higher levels of creativity, innovation, and most importantly, at least for me, relaxation. But the corporate system warped that dream into a trap. Instead of collaborating and celebrating about how efficient we were becoming, corporate realized something spectacular to them. If one person using a machine can do the work of 10 men, then we can fire 9, pocket the profit, and push that remaining individual a little bit further, maybe even to a breaking point. And once they reach that breaking point, we can simply replace them with one of the nine. We're currently living through that realization in this digital age. This is our version of the tractor era. Thanks to generative AI, cloud computing, and advanced automation, enterprise efficiency is through the roof. And that brings us to the brutal reality of our current job market. We're going to cut through the HR jargon. Okay. The official corporate story is that a PIP is a structured opportunity to address performance gaps. Bullshit. formal formal performance procedures across corporate America has spiked nearly 30% over the last few years. Major firms and industry sectors are facing massive executive pressure to cut budgets. Let's face it, at some point in time, most likely during the dot com bust and more um, more relevantly during COVID, too much hiring went on. But they don't want a bad press. They don't want to give out all the information. But most importantly, they don't want anyone talking about layoffs. So what do? They pass down PIP quotas to the managers. And of course, the managers are going to see it through. They tell managers to find reasons to put dedicated workers on improvement plans. Data from corporate tracking sites shows that roughly 60% of people placed on a PIP do not survive them. This is because a PIP isn't really a coaching tool. It is legal minutia, a legal paper trail, if you will, designed to protect the company from wrongful termination lawsuits, which they probably should shortly get. And yet, we have yet to hear and see just exactly what that entails. And so they block you from collecting unemployment through a PIP. That's what it's mostly for. They set the goals intentionally vague or completely unattainable because the decision to let you go was already made in a boardroom 3 months ago based on some Google spreadsheet or some PowerPoint presentation. Now, I'm hoping that as I speak, you realize this. And I'm hoping that these words allow you to relieve yourself of the sadness and or self-doubt. Listen to me closely. If you're currently facing a PIP, you are officially on the right path to being financially free. Your success is not too far behind. Because beings like us, you and I, are fundamentally creatures of comfort. And as long as the direct deposit hits your account every 2 weeks, you're going to tolerate this job. You're going to tolerate the soul crushing, agonizing moments that you look through the window and see the sun shining bright and see the clouds in the sky and know that by the time that you are relieved of your corporate duties, the day will be gone. The sun will have set, if not gone completely down, and you are 10 plus hours closer to your imminent doom with nothing to show for it. A PIP is the universe ripping that fake safety net away. For the first time in your life, you don't just have a vague desire to make money online. You have a tangible, ticking time bomb of high stakes that should motivate you into moving. I'm very certain that they put a deadline on you, right? They gave you a deadline. It's maybe 30, it's maybe 60, it's maybe 90 days. Or maybe you're still waiting to hear the exact amount of time that they're willing to give you. They think they're managing you out, but in reality, they're simply funding your success. So let's talk about how we're going to get out of the game. Let's talk about how we're going to beat them at their own game. Let's talk about what that really entails. We don't try to pass their rigged tests. Okay. We're going to use our energy, our new motive to build an asset that they can't touch. Let's look at how this plays out in reality. I'm not going to give you some hypothetical corporate textbook examples. Fortunately or unfortunately, don't have to. Okay, um, because I'm living it just like you. Imagine waking up every single day, knowing that you have a brutal 4-hour commute to get to, and because public transit cuts off at a certain time, you're going to have to remain at your office for a little while longer, waiting for your wife to pick you up. You drag yourself out at 8 a.m. just to clock in at the job at 12. You work a grueling shift until 8:30 p.m. And as I said previously, because transit cuts off by that time within those hours, you have to wait for your wife to pick you up after she's finished her own shift. And on a good night, you walk through the front door at 9:30, but most nights it's 10 or 11 p.m. Now you may be asking yourself, why do I do that? Why, Sean, why do you do that? I'm glad you asked. Because when I initially took the job, the money was good. But then, as we all know, as we all experiencing, inflation hit. Gas prices, again, are through the roof, skyrocketed. And I still have bunches of debts piling up in multiple areas due to me just trying to survive. To cut back on expenses and keep the household afloat, this is my daily routine. I believed, or I continue to believe, or I did believe before I met you, that this was honestly my only option. Now, I have tried to get a second job. You know, that's what they'll say. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And I have tried to capture myself a second job, but at the same time, it's just so hard. And the reason why it's so hard is no question. You know, they look at my resume, they look at my commute, they look at my location, and they see red flags all over the place. Maybe they even look at my age. I really don't necessarily know. And I've heard that the job market is difficult for everyone, but I feel like it's sometimes I feel like it's just me, you know. Now, at some point in time, I'm naturally exhausted from all of this hard work, all of these long hours, all of these days spent up so long, just so dang long. Okay, that eventually we have a town hall meeting, and my eyes they just grow heavy. I nod off for quite some time. I don't get me wrong. I have been practicing not snoring. I really have. So I'm hoping that I did not snore at the time, but at the same time, I think I did. I'm not gonna lie. I really do think I did. Nonetheless, you know, the town hall meeting is over. Great. Okay. But later on, I definitely get the I definitely get a performance development review from my manager. He drops it down during the PDR. Not because of my actual output though, and not even just because of me being that sleepy, but he claims that I'm not proactive enough. Okay, whatever that means. He brings up a moment where I'm sitting down while others are crowding around the computer. And they're crowding around the computer because they don't understand how things work. Okay. They don't understand what's going on. And so they have to crowd around the computer. But me, I already know what's going on. I've already had the practice. I've already had the training. And there's a chair in the room. I'm going to use it. They don't know about my back issues. They don't know about my hip issues. Maybe it's from me getting old. Maybe it's hereditary. I don't necessarily know, but they don't know. And I don't think there's really anything I can do about it at this current time. Okay. But nonetheless, they're saying those people were being proactive, and for whatever reason, I was not. And the rest of them, they're it's annoying. Okay. But corporate culture doesn't value logic. That's what I learned relatively early on. It values the illusion of work. And so again, he decides to put me on a PIP. Now, if you're in that room at that time talking to that manager, you understand that your debts are piling up, your bills are piling up, your wife is looking at you funny. Your significant other is looking at you with the side eye. And you may be in that position and think that you have to beg for your job. But this is the exact moment that everything changes. And no, you don't have to beg for your job. Instead of panicking, allow the mood to shift. Allow this time to be completely clear to you. You realize that you're going to be trying to please a manager who's already decided that you've lost. So take this time to, check out emotionally, do your core jobs, and stop stressing about looking busy. You want to take that mental energy back because you're going to need it. You realize that if a 4-hour commute is going to drain your life, you have to make those hours count. And so what I want you to do is I want you to stop. Stop staring at the window on the bus. Stop staring at the passengers in the seats. And I want you to open your phone, head to the low bar, and grab your copy of the Note to Self AI application development course. Because that course is going to provide you with more than enough tricks, tools, and skills to make it to where you're not spending time learning how to code from scratch for 6 months. You're going to use it for leverage now. You're going to do some vibe coding. Yes, you are. You're going to do it. You can do it. I believe in you. Using AI frameworks and LLMs to handle the heavy lifting, using things like DeepSeek, Claude, ChatGPT to allow you to have a understanding of operational logic to build simple, functional web utilities and niche digital assets during those hours on the road. Okay, this is what I want for you, and this is what I see for you. Because then we can fast forward a few months. The manager thinks the PIP has you sweating. But behind the scenes, those automated micro apps, they're starting to gain a little bit of traction. They're gaining a little bit of traction. Yes, they are. $100 a week, $300 a week, $500 a week, passively now. Passively. The digital income starts to outpace that stagnant wage you had all those years. So when HR finally calls for that meeting to review the PIP, you don't give a damn. You just smile. You don't need to beg for validation anymore because you built your own tractor. You don't just survive the PIP. You drastically outlive it. You use their timeline, again, to fund your migration to a better life. Now, if you're sitting in the bus right now watching this video or staring at a rigged performance review email, I don't want you to be inspired. Really, I don't. I want you to move, because inspiration without execution is useless. You need the actual infrastructure to manage your escape. So, with that being said, I also want you to head to the low bar, and you should see a sign up for Future You AI. It is a platform I'm developing that is going to allow you to better keep track of your financial transformation. It's going to take into consideration your current station in life, because you're going to put that information in there. Once there, you're going to be presented eventually with the Future You dashboard, where it's going to have projects and blueprints and messages and goals and so many more things. Your digital avatar from the future is going to load up, and is going to be constructed by all the tasks that you are going to need to take on in order to be able to have the life of your dreams. Your future self sent you a message. I think you should listen. So, the moment your dashboard initiates, like I said, you're going to see the avatar. And once the download is complete, basically your timeline shifts. The future self begins sending you real messages that give you information on just exactly what steps you need to take in order to have a better life. Now, the system that is the corporate system, the system that you're stuck in right now, it wants you to believe that your current station is permanent, that you're stuck, that you will forever be uh, underemployed or eventually unemployed, right? But the truth of the matter is, at the same time, the corporate elites, right, have provided you with a way out. I think you should take it. Stop letting managers dictate your worth on whether or not you look busy, right? Go to Future You right now and sign up. Again, the Future You is not readily available. My course most certainly is. If somehow, some way that is not available, um, my actual application templates are also available. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for stopping by. I'm hoping that you have made some money here on the channel known as Note to Self, a show where we use AI tools in order to expedite the online money making process. I am Sean, hoping that you are continuing to enjoy a year here with the channel. And as you can see, I'm trying something new. I'm trying to be innovative. This is not my avatar. This is not the way I look, but it does help with the what's the word I'm looking for? It does help when it comes to the thumbnails, right? It is going to help when it comes to the thumbnail. So with that being said, I will see you in the next one.